The following is a conversation with Youri Deblanc from Belgium. Youri has a small breeding operation of 12 breeding pair, all from his Julian family, but has big results, especially on the national races, where there's thousands and thousands of pigeons competing and many, many fanciers. Youri goes into his history in the sport and how he built his family of pigeons and how he prepares them for his kind of race, which is headwinds, hot, difficult. That's what Youri Deblanc pigeons prefer. Thank you so much, Youri, for your time. I think you all are really going to enjoy this episode. Thank you. All right, Youri Deblanc, Belgium. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you today?
Hey, it's a great pleasure. Thank you. Yeah, I'm okay, quite okay today. Yeah,
Good.
first 2 days of holiday, so couldn't be better.
There you go. So you have some time off to spend with the birds.
Yeah, finally, I went on Wednesday on holiday for a couple of weeks. So, well, 1 week will be spent on the birds, and 1 week will be spent on the family. So,
That's great. That's great.
yeah,
Well, I got to meet you a few weeks ago now. Ken Crater and I came and visited you.
yeah,
And I handled a lot of pigeons when I was over there in Belgium, Holland, Germany. I visited a lot of lofts, and there's no loft I went to where there was bad pigeons. Everybody has super pigeons, but
yeah.
I was really impressed with your collection of pigeons because you have a much smaller breeding operation than a lot of fanciers do, but your pigeons, every one of them, just are super in the hand. They all have extremely good genetics, and I was just very impressed with you and your operation, and so I'm really excited to have you on and kind of go into all of that with you.
Thanks for the nice words.
Well,
This makes me proud.
yeah, when Ken and another friend, Tim Farr, were telling me about you and your loft, I was really excited. And then to meet you was great. And to see all your pigeons um, was incredible. And so for those who don't know you, you compete at the national level, but what part of Belgium are you in?
Yeah, I'm in the upper west side of Belgium. So I have a rather short distance. So let's say I'm in the beginning of Belgium comparing with France. So I'm living 25 kilometers from the French border. Which means that yeah, it's quite difficult here to sometimes do well in races because 70% of the time it's west wind in Belgium and in France. So for me, yeah, almost in let's say half of the national races mathematically, because it's a mathematical calculation,
Yeah.
I'm already not able to win first national. But nevertheless, I'm happy to live here. So I have to select my birds into the 30 or 40% races where it's harder, headwind or warmer. So that's creates a specifically type of pigeon, of course. But yeah, that's the only time I can win a national race if it's headwind and warm weather. So yeah, that's so I live, let's say, 25 kilometers next to the French border, and also in my own province. I'm also one of the first with the smallest distance. Yeah.
Yeah, and let's go back to the beginning for you. How did you get into racing pigeons and homers and all of that? Where did it begin for you? Where did it start?
Yeah, I think like a lot of guys, my grandfather had pigeons, and so in that way I started racing pigeons. Then I got married, and I yeah, had some pigeons, but I was a very poor fancier. I mean, my results were terrible, Jeff. I didn't win any first prize. I think so. People were very happy when I came into the club with some pigeons because they knew I couldn't get any prize anyway, so they had more chance. And then in 2005, we moved with my wife. My first child was born. We moved here to Ronse. That's where I live. And then I started racing pigeons again with only 8 birds. But again, I had no time, no attention for the birds. But there was one pigeon I got from a friend of mine, which I raced in 2007, who stood up. So despite my bad caretaking and so on, uh, this pigeon was able to fly a top 10 national on very hard races. It was Julien, my base bird,
Yes.
which I got from a friend. All the other ones were no good. So in 2009, I had to quit pigeon racing again for my job. I had a job which required me to go often to the US and to also to China. So I stopped pigeon racing and I only kept Julien, the bird who won 7th National Irun, which is 900 kilometers in the north of Spain. And I kept him and another bird, a hen, which also raced very well. So I kept him here in a small aviary during a couple of years, and then I restarted pigeon racing again when I got a new job, which didn't require to be as often abroad as before. So I restarted pigeon racing in 2014, but with a clear view that this time I wanted to have some first prizes,
Right.
and not only to have one bird like Julien, but also rest of birds should have be better quality. And then I worked out a bit strategy in my mind, like I often do for companies I work for. I said, okay, how can I reach national top of Belgium in 5 years? That was the title of my PowerPoint. And then I restarted pigeon racing in 2014. And so now I'm here at this address. In my restart, it's almost 10 years now. Yeah.
And so, what was the strategy for building around Julian?
Yeah, to be honest, Jeff, in the beginning, I said, okay, I want to raise birds well, not keeping too many birds because I have a very busy job. Also now I'm still quite often abroad. I have 4 children. And my wife is a doctor, so also she has a lot of work. And so for me, pigeon racing, it's on the fourth or fifth place. So I
Right.
don't have a lot of time. And so I wanted to do a strategy, saying, okay, it's a hobby. Everything has to be very easy and simple, and taking care of the pigeons. And also, I want a very small breeding loft, and that breeding loft should be built around one family. Uh, so that was a bit my mindset. And then I came across somebody here, an old fancier in my hometown, and he said, "Yeah, can I buy some pigeons from you?" I said, "Yeah, buy. I'm a very bad fancier. I only restarted." He said, "Yeah, but at the time you had a very good bird." He remembered. So I gave him 2 youngsters of Julien with the breeding hen I kept, which is basic breeding hen number 3. And this guy immediately started to win first prizes. And he also offered me his help. And so he said, "Look, I'm going to help you to take care of your pigeons, to handle a bird, to judge a bird. But you have to promise me something. You kill all other pigeons you have except for your Julian birds, because I'm really convinced that this will help you reaching your strategy." And so my strategy suddenly changed, and the one family was the one Julien family. And then I started raising youngsters of Julien with 3 hens, because the guy gave me a mother and a daughter hen. So I paired up Julien with the 3 hens, the one I kept, and the 2 hens of Mark, the guy named Mark. And in 2015, which before was so difficult. In my first race, I immediately got the first prize.
Oh, wow.
Uh, yeah, and my wife also said, "What's happening? You never got first prizes in the past, and now, yeah, suddenly it goes like that." And then also Mark, who got, because we shared the youngsters. So I took the second and the fourth round, and he took the first and the third round. And also he started immediately to race much better. So that was a strategy, in fact, which it became very clear in my head. From now on, I only want Julien, birds, daughters, sons, and so on in my breeding loft.
Right.
And then I will look for the finest crossing material there is and try to reach in 5 years. That was my strategy, the top. So that was a bit my strategy. And then I also did some side notes. Okay, we have to have a basic take care, but it has to be decent. Lofts has to be very simple. You saw my lofts. I made them myself. I have two left hands, so they are not that great, but they are okay. Not too many birds. Must be fun, but we have ambition.
Right.
And then year after year, it went better. Also, I decided not to sell or never sell any bird, which was special for me. In 2014, I bred the first round of youngsters from Julien. And then in 2016, those birds like Croc Julien, like young Julien, his brother, because these are two brothers, Juliette, which is a sister, Princess Julien, which is a half sister. All those birds started to excel immediately in 15 and 16. And ending 16, 17, I already put those first wave of top 10 national children, because immediately we didn't alone win first prizes in the club, but also on national level they excelled, and mainly in hard races. And I immediately put them on the breeding loft, which is a bit difficult because, yeah, as a young guy, you want to excel, and then suddenly you put all the best after 2 3 years on the breeding loft. But that, yeah, was a, let's say, a very good thing we decided to do, because those children of the guys which I put on the breeding loft then excelled in 17, 18, and 19 again. But then again, I put those again on the breeding loft, and so on and so on. So yeah, I didn't sell them, but also the evening that they flew a top national result, I didn't pick up the telephone, because in Belgium it goes like that. If you win top three, top five national, they start calling pigeon for sale. I say, I don't care. Also, my wife supported me in that. And the evening before, without hesitating, I took the bird on the hill. My
Yeah. Yeah.
racing loft is on the hill, and I went here down in my small. I only have 12 couples of place for 12 couples of breeders. I immediately took the bird and I put it on the breeding loft without thinking, without regret, or also without playing it, because most fanciers then would keep on racing it for ace pigeon or something like that. And I didn't do that because, Jeff, my strategy was I want to build a breeding loft with top 10 national Julien related breeders. So
Absolutely.
I had to build that up. And if I would lose those birds in another race because I was too tempting to raise them, or they are taken by a prey bird, or I don't know what can happen, yeah, then you lose that. So, and then, yeah, it went on like that. And yeah, then in 17, yeah, I got third international Saint Vincent with Princess Julien. In 16, I won sixth national Montauban with Croc Julien. In 16, I won third national Brive with the son of Croc Julien. And the brother of Croc Julien won eighth national Brive. We only basket two pigeons that day. And then, yeah, in 17, we all put them on the breeding loft. 18 was then a bit a more difficult year because I had to restart everything. But then in 19, I can say it was the really breakthrough with the children of the guys of 14, 15, and 16 and 19 week after. And it was also a very hot summer. So for me, perfect. And each week the wind was blowing head and the temperature were above 30. I was amazing. I only basket each week, 6 birds, 7 birds, and each week I headed for the first national. So I did that week after week, and I came closer and closer. It was all everybody told me, yeah, now it will be your turn because I was getting closer and closer. I was getting seventh national, then week afterwards fourth national, then weeks afterwards even closer, and then the week afterward I basket 3 pigeons. And then I won first national Libourne with
Wow.
Star Julien. So I was also the anecdote with my wife. I'm always sitting here with my wife if it's an important race, and she's a horse riding girl, and she came home around 4 o'clock. And each week we had the same routine. She said, "Yeah, when do you expect them?" And then as a joke, I said, "Yeah, I have to have a pigeon at 4:07 p.m. to have the first national." And then almost at the exact hour I said, I had a bird, which was close to the first national. But then, yeah, 4 weeks later, with Star Julien, which from Libourne, which is 700 kilometers, so quite a hard race. Yeah, then he won first national. So yeah, it was really the breakthrough for me. And then I also put Star Julien the evening of first national Libourne. I didn't sell him. I put him on the breeding loft. And then, yeah, in 2020, 21, I bred from the pigeons of the second wave, of which Star Julien was one of them. And yeah, in 2020 and 21, I had 2 amazing seasons. Also, with the COVID, the Corona, I was a bit more at home. I didn't have to go abroad anymore.
Right.
So I could do like the other guys, spend a bit more time at my birds.
Right.
But then those 2 seasons for me were really not only I was able to peak in the national race, but also yeah, if I basket 30 pigeons from Souillac, for example, which is 700 kilometers, I clocked 20 of the 30 in 13 minutes after 10 hours flight. So they were also very good in a group that season. So from the beginning, from the first race till the end. So those 2 seasons, yeah, then I really approached the national top, which was also my goal. I had a second international Agen, which is 800 kilometers. I had the fourth national Limoges. I had first national zone Limoges. I had sixth national. I had eighth national week after week. Just the first national lacked that season, but yeah, that's difficult.
Incredible. And
Yeah, but yeah, I had some incredible races. So 2020 and 21, I started in 19 with the breakthrough, but then 2020 and 21 was a fantastic 2 seasons for me, and I think at that moment I was really at the top of Belgium, which was also my dream. Especially if I can continue, Jeff, if you
sure.
want to
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
something, just interrupt me. I'm so enthusiastic about telling it.
Oh, yeah. I love hearing it.
And then in 19, I had a fantastic group of pigeons bred. So all those birds of 17 and 18, which are still young, and then also like Croc Julien was still of 14, they bred me an incredible rounds of birds in 19. I wrote it once down. I bred 100 youngsters, and 27 of the 100 flew top 100 national at
Wow.
least once. Yeah. So end 21, I put also those birds. It was the third time I did that. Like Crac René 760, she won third national Bourget, 20 national Brief. Her sister won 8 times top 180 national out of 8 races. Prince Julien, second international against 30,000 pigeons from Agen. I birds like Princess Croc Julien, the 5th best hen long distance in Europe. I pigeons like that. I put again on my breeding loft in 21. And then to continue the story, and then I'm almost there. In 22 and 23, I had two seasons which were less than the 2 years before. I have a bit my reasons why, and we thought about it, and you have to be honest with yourself. Everybody told me, everybody who visits my lofts says what you also say. Quality is super. You have great birds. I also started to sell or to give away some birds to other people. They succeeded with them. Top lofts also. But here 22 was already a bit less, and then 23 was average season. I still had some birds excelling, but the group didn't excel that anymore. So I didn't have 20 birds anymore capable of flying top. I only had 6, 7 birds. And so I start wondering why. And then we came to certain conclusions. One is I didn't really find good cross material, and I went a bit too far in the inbreeding. And some pedigrees of my youngsters of 22 and 23 and 21 also, there was sometimes 5, 6 times Julien in it, and then I coupled them with a Julien bird. So there was only Julien on my breeding loft, so I went a bit too far in the inbreeding. Secondly, the summers were also less than the years before. So 22 and specifically 23 was a terrible summer here in Belgium. 23, it was stormy west wind all the time with cloudy, and my pigeons don't like that. So it was also an external factor which I couldn't help. And then thirdly, also what I didn't do anymore in 22 and 23 and also in 21 due to a lack of time, because I had to start working normally again after 2 years of Corona.
Right.
I didn't train my youngsters anymore. So I just trained them or started to raise them for the first time in a basket in the club as a yearling. And I was also a bit neglecting the fact that quality is one thing, but yeah, to catch up 1 year of no training in their mindset, uh, it's difficult to catch that up. And it's like small children. If you have children and you only put them in school when they are 10 years, yeah, perhaps they have suffered so much back that they didn't develop their brains anymore. So I think that's also a reason. And so ending 23 after 22 was still quite okay. I still had Super Julien, which was a super bird. But I saw 22 was already less. 23 was a disappointment. And not then other people would perhaps say, yeah, but it's the weather and I'm in the beginning of Belgium. But I saw what I saw. So I say, yeah, quality is also less, and yeah, we are losing a bit more youngsters than before. We never lose youngsters, but now we are losing 10%, and so we said, okay, let's go to a strategic day with some friends of mine, and then we said, yeah, in 23 we have to start racing young birds again. First of all, I have to look for cross material again, and we did that. So we reduced a bit the inbreeding. We started to raise the youngsters again, and the youngsters in 2023, we won all races in the club except one above 300 kilometers. So those youngsters, which were a bit more crossed with other lines than before, yeah, week after week, I won the first 6, 7, 8 prizes until 800 birds. And now this season, I have an amazing season. Although the weather could be still a bit more warmer, like it was last weekend. But yeah, week after week, I dominate the club here, and also nationally when it's in my favor, I have a good national result. When it's not in my favor, in my own national zone, I still have a top result. So, which shows that, yeah, I'm feeling and I'm so excited about I'm going back in business now. like
Good.
it was in 2021. And I see in my group of yearlings and old 30, 35 birds capable of winning again. Uh, and yeah, now with the new youngsters which we have of 2024, which we will again race national. I think next year, this year was already great, but next year we will be again on the level where we were before. So yeah, that's nice to see that works. After
Absolutely.
all, yeah, you know, Jeff, pigeon racing is about keeping your head and be ambitious and think. And I don't sleep a lot. I think you all good fancier things at night
Oh yeah.
when he works.
Right.
There are a lot of fanciers here in Belgium not working, so they have time to think during the day, but I have to do other things during the day. Yeah,
Yeah, and I want to go back to the point you made earlier about you're building your family and not selling pigeons. And I think that's important is that you held on to those pigeons, you put them in your breeding loft, and all these birds we were talking about, these birds that were top 10, top 20, top 100 national, are all children, grandchildren, great grandchildren of the
yeah,
original Julian. And
yeah.
crack Julian specifically, Montauban, what's the distance for that?
Montauban was 780 kilometer, Jeff,
Okay.
and that day you can look that up. It was special Montauban. Only 8 pigeons arrived during the day
Wow.
itself, so they were released at 7 o'clock. And Craig Julian arrived at 9 o'clock in the evening. He was the first pigeon in Belgium arriving, but of course, with the bigger distance, he won the sixth national.
Yeah.
But yeah, but Craig,
4,327 pigeons.
yeah, exactly. But Craig Julian was raised with Mark. Craig Julian was a very specific bird. For example, he won the sixth national Montauban. 2 weeks later, we said, okay, we will race him again 600 kilometers. So 2 weeks later, to be a bit again confident after a difficult race, we basket him at a 300-kilometer race. But it was a headwind. He won the first 13 minutes lead before the second bird. The year afterwards, in the beginning of the season, it was in Wyon, which is 140 kilometers. He still won top 10. So he always wanted to be, no matter which distance, in top of the race. It was a crazy bird. Because normally, if pigeons are above 600 kilometers, they understand what they are doing.
Yeah.
And the shorter distances, they relax and they come home still 1 out of 10, but never in the top of the race anymore. But he was different. He always wanted to be in head of the race. It was a credible bird. And then his son won a couple of weeks later, after he won the sixth national. His son won the third national brief, and then we put him on the breeding loft. And then I got him back and I put him here on the breeding loft. And since then, yeah, you know which references he has. Yeah, it's an amazing bird. Also in hand, you cannot hold him. He has a great eye, great muscles. He's very smart. Yeah, it's.
Yeah,
I love that bird so
he was
much. Yeah,
definitely one of my favorites for my
yeah,
style and taste. And
yeah,
for those that are listening that aren't familiar, don't know a lot about the Belgium national races, let's start first with your club. How many members are you flying against in your club, and then expand on the national level as far as how many pigeons are we talking about average on these national races? Because the United States specifically, we're so spread
yeah.
out.
Okay.
We can't get as many pigeons as you guys are getting in your area. So
Yeah.
these numbers might be normal for you, but for us hearing it is really interesting. So let's start with your
Okay.
club and then go to the national level as far as how many fanciers, how many birds.
Yeah. Here in the club, we are about 50 to 60 fanciers. Uh, but we have one of the best clubs in Belgium. Why is that? Also, Van den Ede brothers, you know them. They race here in the club. The Smeter Restiaan races here in the club. We are 4 to 5 people racing very well, playing together in this club. So, which is difficult. Here in Belgium, we can choose our club. So, before I was in another club where I won always first 10 prizes. But then I said, okay, I have to go in a club where the best are. So I chose to go here in the club in Ronse, which is one of the best of Belgium. So we are about 50 to 60 fanciers. So we have club races, normally about 400, 500, 600 pigeons. Then we play racing provincial, which is East Flanders. There are about 2,800, 3,000 fanciers in East Flanders. There we have races of 4,000, 5,000 pigeons. If it's a bit further, then the number decreases, but still 1,500 to 2,000. And we also, our province, is one of the biggest provinces, East Flanders, and also the top national racers like Van den Ede, who is in my club, Tom van Haver is also East Flanders. Also, East Flanders is one of the best provinces. And then we race also national zone, because, for example, in my case, when it's west wind, I'm already not able to compete even province, because there are guys here in the province living 80 kilometers further. But then they've found out national zone, which is a zone, almost the same number of fanciers and pigeons like province. And then you have the national races, which are, I think we are about still 18,000 fanciers in Belgium. Not all participating in the national races, but more and more everybody is competing national races. The time that provincial races with no national result are important, that's gone. Everybody wants to be on the national stage now. The best birds are there also, and also the best fanciers are there. So then you compete with the whole of Belgium, and of course, the wind is deciding a lot of results. Mainly if it's national race starts at 400 kilometer. And so the national races, middle long distance between 400 and 600, they are heavily dominated by Antwerp province, and because the wind pushes the birds there. Unless there is a headwind and it's warm, then I also have a chance, which is 1 out of the third. You also see it in the National Ace Championships. This year, for example, I have the second bird of East Flanders in the National Championship middle long distance. And it's ranked now 19th.
Wow.
All the other guys are Antwerp guys.
Yeah.
So, but okay, in my own province, I will have hopefully the second or the third ace bird, which is still of a lot of fanciers.
Yeah.
But then you have the national races above 600 kilometer. They are still nice races, because there everybody can win, but top 10 national is still decided by the wind. But a race of 700 kilometer, even if the wind is west, you still have to be able to be the 20th national, for example. So it's a bit more honest, 600, 700 kilometer. And then you have the extreme long distance, which I also race. It's like Agen, 800 kilometer, Narbonne, 900. It's this weekend, Narbonne, 900 kilometer. And then you have Barcelona. I compete from distance, short distance, 200 kilometer, till Narbonne, 900 kilometers. And with my yearlings, for example, if they didn't have too many kilometers in their wings, in the beginning they are still enthusiastic. I also win first prizes if there is a headwind and good weather on 200 kilometers. And then I push those birds when they are 2, 3, 4 years old, also to 900 kilometers. So I'm a bit an all-round player, and I want my birds to keep the speed, But when they are older, of course, they lose the speed, and then I push them further to 800 or 900 kilometers. Not a lot fanciers do that in Belgium.
Is
Most
it
of them
is
keep
it
chooses discipline. Yeah,
is it fair to say that you're looking for an all distance pigeon that can do
yeah,
everything? Yeah,
yeah.
you're not looking for a specific distance to specialize in. You
No,
want pigeons that can do all of it.
yeah. I
Yeah,
to be honest, I have a all-round pigeon distance, but not weather, because I already select now year after year at difficult races with headwind. If the speed is above 1600 meters a minute, which is fast, it's a stormy wind, then my birds are very average birds. If it's 1400, 1600 meters, I have a chance, and some of them will be there, some of them not. If the speed is below 1300 meters, that's my moment. Like,
right.
for example, this weekend we had Brive, which is 650 kilometers. It was more than 32 degrees in France and also here very hot. I had 24 old birds. I clocked 9 birds in 15 minutes.
Wow.
Uh, Top national result. Uh, that's an advantage of having a family, that when you see one, they are all there. So I can make very good results in block when the weather is good, because I know, yeah, they're all family, so they all like the same conditions. If it's a faster race, 1400, 1450 meters, I still can do very good. Like La Souterraine was also this weekend. I have a very good result. But more than 1600 meters with stormy wind, then they don't like that condition. It's always very cloudy also when it's 1600 meters. And then they come home, but never have a good result then.
You're
Yeah.
the harder it gets, the headwind, the heat, the better your pigeons do. And
Yeah.
do you think that's based off of your selection over the years or more of the bloodline, or what do you think causes that?
Both. I have a bloodline which is originally a long distance bloodline. And so in Belgium, there is a change in the way we race. Before, the long distance race was done by long distance birds.
Right,
Now, there are a lot of long distance racers who put in middle long distance birds who excel once or two time or three time when there is a heavy west wind. But of course, then they have the risk. If there is once a very heavy long distance race, yeah, they lose them. They don't come home anymore. Um, so for me, it's the origin, yeah, and also the selection. A very famous fancier told me, yeah, you have to cross them with pigeons who are more able to race above 1600 meters. But I told him, where I live, that's no use. What do I get then? The 300 national instead of the 1000 national of 10,000 birds? I don't care. I want to win first national. And I can only gain first national when the distance is further, or when it's a middle distance race with very warm weather, or with warm weather and normal wind. So I don't cross them either. So it's both, Jeff. It's
yeah,
origin and it's selection. Yeah, and it's
absolutely.
also my preference. I have the idea, but that's my personal idea, that um, for breeding, you have much more success with birds excelling in difficult
Right.
conditions than excelling, yeah, when there is a stormy wind and by accident the bird happens to be on the right place. Which is perhaps a bit too arrogant to say, because also you see that middle long distance birds which are raised on the long distance, yeah, they have perhaps also more ability to keep their eye open. But it's very much in Belgium where you are located. If I was living in Antwerp region, probably I would also have more middle long distance birds put in on the long distance. But my wife doesn't want to move, so
Well,
But it's both. Yeah.
yeah, I
But,
think I think that's a great answer. And Ken Crater, who visited, came with me and visited
yeah,
you,
yeah.
he texted
Okay.
me a question last night because I told him I was going to talk to you. He said,
Okay.
"How does Yuri prepare his birds for longer, hotter races?" So, what does the week look like for you? During the week, what are you doing to prepare the birds to get to be in that good condition and feel right for a hot, longer, tougher race?
Yeah. First of all, you have to understand that um, I don't have a program up front. And so I raise birds when I see the race will be okay. And for example, Brief is basketing on Wednesday. I only decided on Wednesday morning that I would basket Brief because you cannot raise them 700 kilometers 8 weeks in a row. That you cannot do. At least I don't do that. There are some who do that with some younger hens of 1 year old. But if you want to raise birds like I do, when they are also 3, 4, 5 years old, you cannot do that. And so in Belgium, a lot of people now put weekly their birds 700, 800 kilometers. You can do that, but that only takes one season. Then the bird is gone. They have a limited number of kilometers.
Right.
Most fanciers say 10,000 kilometers and then it's done. So most hens, yearling hens or yearling birds, um, are put in weekly. I don't do that. So I want to raise them when they are older, and I still want to do Agen 800 kilometer, Narbonne 900 kilometer, and so on. So I cannot race each week. So I select my moment. Like for example, Brief, I see it's warm weather. On Wednesday morning, I decide. So it means that I have to keep a steady schedule. So I cannot boost them or work through a race. They have to be ready at each moment. Yeah? So that's one thing. I have a very simple schedule. I'm not at home during the week. I'm working hard. Sometimes I'm abroad for my work. My best friend, who is a chef, cook, he is doing or helping my birds then. He doesn't know anything about birds, so the schedule has to be simple, and it is. So each weekend, we give them protein in their water. If they went for a race or not, that doesn't matter. Everybody has the same. And then we have only two mixtures of feed. Mixture one and mixture two, it's called. And one is a rather fatty mixture already as a base, and two adds 4% of fatness to that. And so my baseline is already 10% fat, which is a lot. Normally, people they give only in beginning of the week or well they don't raise 6%. I already start 10%. And then on the day of the basket, or when I decide, I add the second mixture, which is more fatty, and then I put as much as fat as I still can in. If I decide on Tuesday to basket on Wednesday, okay, then I have 2 days of put fat in it. If I only decide like this week or last week on Wednesday, I only have 1 day. But as my basic mixture is already fat, that doesn't mind that much. And so it's a very simple system which allows me. So, what do we do on Saturday and Sunday? They have proteins. In the week, if I basket on Wednesday or on Thursday, or I basket both, I start putting fat in starting on Tuesday, and then I build up like that. Uh, and then basically that's it. Uh, we reduced more and more the number of supplements. To be honest, I only use 6 supplements the last 2 years, and my results are getting better than 15 years ago when I didn't won any prize at all. Yeah, I had a daily schedule, then this, 20% of this mixture, and so on and so on. Now I changed that and I said, my birds have to be ready for me and not differently. I don't have time. My best friend taking care of my pigeons is a chef. He can cook very well pigeons. but he don't know anything about pigeons. So there has to be a simple schedule, and it's only based about recuperation. And we give protein Saturday and Sunday, and give fat. Probiotics we don't give anymore. Putting up small pills for protein, no, in the water, simple, 2 days. So we made it very simple, and that's easy for us. Also, the mixture, my friend knows it's mixture one or mixture two. We give that same mixture for the breeding, for the youngsters, for the widow hens, for the and so on. There is one disadvantage, or disadvantage is not the right word. It's one condition about this schedule. They have to train a lot,
Right.
because if you put fat in it and they don't train a lot, yeah,
They put on the
and they
weight.
get fat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we do is we let them train a lot, and then each Sunday we detox them. We call that. So then I give not a lot of food, and then I give, that's an exception on mixture one and mixture two. So already contradicting myself. But one evening per week, we give a detox, very, very light mixture. And then all the fat has to go out. But then the day afterward, we let them train again. And so my birds, in the beginning of the season, we gradually put them up till 2 hours and a half training a day. Uh, Now, of course, we are at the end of the season. It's a bit less, but for example, my widowers and my males this morning, so they had a tough brief this weekend. They still trained almost 1 hour without helping them. That's because of the fat. Yeah. An advantage is also that in the beginning, in the preparatory races, okay, you're not excelling always if it's a light flight because they have too much fat in them, but you don't lose any bird. They have always enough reserve to come home. That's also an advantage. So we don't lose a lot of birds also. And this year in Belgium, people lost a lot of birds. I don't have that problem. So basic schedule. So preparation is recuperation with protein, and then fat, and then yeah, what do we do for fat? We moisture the food with oil. We put some energy powder on it. That's one of the supplements we give, and that's always the same. And then the last day, we don't put anything on the food anymore. And then they even eat a bit more because I think they are happy that there
Mhm.
is no oil and no energy on the food anymore. And then they eat more. And then we basket them. And then we give them some nuts. So the last 2 days, if I go to the loft, I give them some small grains, candy mixture, and I give them regularly some nuts, and then they get more fat in them, because fat is the most important. After 3-4 hours race, it's the fat who starts to kick in. The carbohydrates and so on are already long out at that moment. Yeah.
They have to have plenty of fuel in their tank to be able to
Yeah,
compete like
exactly.
that. But in order to do your style of feeding, like you said, you have to make sure they exercise. They have to keep
Yeah,
burning
yeah.
that energy. Right. Makes sense.
Also, if I keep them at home in the weekend, I don't race them. I don't race the 8 long distance races. So, like this year, for example, the 2 main long distance race, I didn't compete. And then other people say you're crazy, you're looping all the national championships and so on. But I don't care. I just want to excel in the race, and then the rest will come. So, but if I don't race, I didn't race Limoges, for example, 2 weeks ago. Why? It was a stormy wind announced, 1800 meters flight. Limoges was at home after 6 hours. For
Wow.
me,
Yeah.
no use to race that race.
Right.
I know that up front. So I didn't race them, but at Sunday, it was a bit difficult. I had a tough night at Saturday evening. We had some friends coming over, but On Sunday morning, I got up at 5:30. I took my birds and I drove them 90 kilometers to have the feeling of race. So you have to keep them busy then.
Right.
So also to the question, I start building up fat already before the season. So I'm not starting to build up fat only when the long distance race starts. So in my belief, the reserve I already build up when it's 200, 300 kilometer already. So at that moment, I already build up the reserve, not only when the long distance race starts. And I think a lot of people make that mistake. They only start to build up the reserves once the races of 600 kilometer are there. I already start 4 weeks ago. I believe that reserve is already, it's kept in their body.
Yeah.
And the detox is a temporary thing you do, but yeah, I built up that reserve already 3 4 weeks before the long distance race. And so
And is
yeah,
grit is available to the birds every day, or how do you do the grit?
yeah, the grit is important. Hey, and I change a lot of grit. I have
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
3 4 different mixtures I give. IED minerals. I give Van Roba's grit. I have normal grit, not expensive grit. Yeah, we mix a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the guy where we buy our food half of the time doesn't have things available, so we are forced to take other things. It doesn't mind, but grit is important. Of course, they have to have it daily. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's basic. That's basic knowledge. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Well, Tim Farr texted me this question. What are the optimal conditions for assessing quality of your pigeons, and what criteria on the racing team have to be met for them to graduate to your stock loft? So we talked earlier about how once they were doing something at a top 10 national, you immediately were getting them in there so you could build your family. What's the criteria now for them to make it
yeah.
to the stock loft? Has it changed?
No, it didn't change. So, well, to be honest, I put ending last year one who had 11th national in the race. So I did a compromise there. It was Super Julien, who was one of the best birds I ever had. But I made a mistake with him in the National Ace Championship. And he came home at the last race injured. So I had to put him on the breeding loft. I restarted him, but I saw his injury. He didn't win the top prizes anymore. So he won 11th national Limoges and other top prizes. So I put him on the breeding loft. But the condition for me on the breeding loft, if you are a Julien member of the family, you won top 10 national. That's
Right.
still the condition. And so if I put other birds on the breeding loft, they have to be of the best there is. For example, you know Jelly as well, Jelly Rosiers. Jelly bought Crac Julien's son at an auction. One of his best birds this year is originating from it. He wanted some additional birds. I said, yeah, why don't we exchange? Yali is also a very great guy. So we
Yeah.
exchanged some birds, but I got the chance to have a son of his Pullman, which was national ace bird. Uh, I have bought at the time some birds of Paulin. One was a sister of First National Saint-Vincent. One was a daughter First National Montauban. My best friend Erik Vermander won last year First National Brive. I bought two children of the First National. So if it's not Julien and they didn't race here, they must be of the best there is.
Right.
And not only of the best there is, but with people thinking like me. For example, Yali is a great guy, not too much birds. Queen L family,
Family.
he
Yeah.
also has a family. My best friend Erik Vermander, not a lot of birds. His basic strain is still there. Also, Paulin, idem. So I don't go in places with people having 60 couples or 100 couples of breeders, racing 700 youngsters, and so on, like you have a lot in Belgium. I also go to the fanciest thinking like me. It must be easy. It must be a hobby. It must be a family. I believe in inbreeding. I believe that other people who buy here or get here inbreeding material and they cross have more chance than
Absolutely.
other people. I made that mistake in 17, 18, 19, giving me some difficult years in 21, 20, 22, 23. But then in 22, 23, I corrected myself and I went back to my old philosophy. I also, and I don't let myself influence by marketing. I go to the fanciest, racing top results with a family of birds. And that's why, and so that's the answer on my breeding loft. So Juliens have to be top 10 national racers or extremely good racers because I want to breed from proven racers. If I buy to cross in, it has to be the best of the best. That's the only thing which matters in pigeon racing. And then in my racing loft, yeah, sometimes it's easy. And in 21, in the beginning of the season, I went on my racing loft and I said, yeah, I will select again. Yeah, I did already first selection. I will only keep the top 100 national birds, and I still got 37 birds. Then it's easy. And 22 and 23, that was not the case. And then
Right.
you have to say, okay, I have to build up again. And then you have to be a bit more smarter. And then in 22, I bred some late youngsters of my breeding couples. Yeah, in 23, those birds couldn't excel. They were too young. They were only born in September and so on. But now in 24, they are excelling.
Yeah.
But now in 24, while my team is back on track again, I will put again the top 100 national standard against it. Yeah. Certainly, when they are 2 years old, they have to race at minimum 2 times in the head when it's my type of races.
Right.
When they are a yearling, I can select in one race. So it can be, I did that in 21, the Suyak, which I mentioned, I clocked a lot of birds in a short time. All the birds, not in the first 10, 1 out of 10, I didn't keep anymore. Why? Because I know it's my condition. It was warm weather, 10 hours race. I had a great results. The birds are on the same loft. Of course, I check the results in the weeks before, but if they don't are there at that race, they will never be there. So then my wife then sees me going with a small basket up the hill, and then she says, "Oh my God!" And then I take 6, 7 birds, and I do that in the last 5 races. I do that each week. I take 3, 4, 5 birds, and I select. So selection is important. But of course, you have to, yeah, be not too mathematically on the one hand. On the other hand, yeah, if you have the luxury like I had in 21 to have 37 birds top 100 national, yeah, then you cannot keep the other ones if you want to keep a limited number of pigeons.
Right.
But this year I will. I guess I will reach more than 30 old birds reaching the standard again. Yeah,
That's
but
incredible.
that's how I do it. Also important. So this answer your questions, I think, and on the breeding loft and on the racing loft. Also, it's important on your breeding loft to not to have too old pigeons. Yeah, so like Crac Julien is amazing breeder. I think he's the best breeder, one of the best breeders. I'm sorry, not the best, but one of the best in Belgium. With the number of pigeons also elsewhere he has. But yeah, if you match him up with a 10-year-old female, then you have 2 old birds together. So yeah, the birds I get in has to be young also sometimes. Like Super Julien is of 2020, he's on my breeding loft. I recently moved a son of Star Julien of 21 to the breeding loft. He won 4th national and 7th national. I put them on the breeding loft. You also have to keep the impulse and the young genes on your breeding loft as well.
Right.
It's a disadvantage for your racing loft but 1 year later, that pays off already straight away when you see the youngsters. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you're
it,
able to get multiple youngsters out of them. And if
yeah,
I had this situation this past Old Birds where I raced one of my best pigeons one too many times and he didn't come
yeah,
home. And if I would have if I would have put him in the breeding loft, he would be
yeah,
bringing me multiple youngsters now. And I'm not getting that now. So every now and then
yeah.
we have to relearn that lesson that sometimes it's one too many races. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
yeah.
That's absolutely true.
Do you have a physical traits that you're looking for when you're adding pigeons? Do you care about the way they're built at all? Anything like that?
Yeah, with the inbreeding, I saw I lost a bit thickness of feathers. And so I had, for example, in 2020, two sisters. One was fourth or fifth ace bird, KBDB and the yearlings. Was an inbred hen, but very thick feathers. So I put her on the breeding loft. She was an inbred Julien, but exceptionally thick feathered. So only for the thick feathers, I put her on the breeding loft, and her sister as well, who was a so I if I go externally, I also look a bit more for thick feathers now to compensate the inbreeding. Which I always look is the thick, short forearm. All my birds have thick, short forearms. So good muscled. Yeah, I cannot stand ugly birds. I think you have seen it on my
Yeah,
breeding loft.
right.
Yeah, when they are a youngster, when I started, I had to kill upfront about 5 to 10% in the early years. Now it's rare I have a young bird which I don't like. It still can be, or it can be because there was too much inbred in it, or but yeah, thick, short forearm, good feathered, nicely pronounced eye. If you see the eye of Star Julien, of Croc Julien, of Prince Julien, these are colorful eyes. Yeah, that's what I look for. In fact, yeah. Yeah.
If you were to start over today in 2024, because we have a lot of new flyers that watch, what's your advice to someone who's new to get started properly? What advice do you have that you can tell them that may save them from wasting time making a mistake? What advice for flyers that are new or maybe guys that are coming back after taking a break?
Yeah, I think most important advice is um, know what you want. If you have a busy job, don't keep 300 pigeons. That will not work anyway. Also, pigeons feel if you are stressed or not. So your mental health is important for the pigeons. So adapt caretaking of your pigeons to yourself. If you don't clean, you don't clean. You put grills on your loft. Uh, Keep the system simple, like we did. So pigeon racing has to adapt to you, and after a while, the good pigeons will adapt themselves to your system, what you want. So I see a lot of very ambitious young guys going way too far and spending way too many time, way too many money in supplements and so on. It's only about one thing: you feeling happy in your sport and having good pigeons, and that's it. Julien, I was a terrible loft manager at the time, but he excelled, and the other one is not because he
Right.
was a great pigeon. That's it. So, two advices: one, um, pigeons have to adapt to your schedule. Two, quality of pigeons is everything you have, and these two, if you are a smart pigeon racer, then you ensure you have quality on your loft, then you ensure you have a basic simple schedule. So I can judge guys coming over here, starters or not. I Most of the times I know he will make it or he will not make it. If they start asking me questions, what medicines do you use, which food do they use, I know already won't work. If they ask me, how did you build up a strain? What do you look into a pigeon? How do you get there? Then I think, yeah, he's a smart guy. He will get there. So keep your mind. That's most important.
I think that's great. I think it's really great advice because I think new guys sometimes get overwhelmed. They get too many pigeons,
Yeah,
too much information, too many products, not keeping it
yeah.
simple enough.
It's and I also let myself go away 10, 15 years ago.
Hmm.
Marketing of products, marketing of fanciers, marketing of if you go buying pigeons with somebody who has 120 breeding couples, yeah, you can also go to the lottery and buy a lottery ticket. You have the same chance of winning. So yeah, you have to think for yourself.
Right,
Uh, and we are, of course, living in a publicity, and that's in pigeon racing differently. Yeah, you have to get rid of the marketing and think yourself.
right.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice. And I know you have to go basket here. We're running out of time. Last
Yeah, I
question.
still have some time, Jeff. No
Okay.
worry.
Well, okay. Well,
Yeah.
then I love asking people this question because it's interesting to hear everyone's perspective. Do you have a proudest moment that you can think of in the racing pigeon sport where you have a memory or something that happened that you're most proud of that you'll never forget?
Yeah, I have one race. It was Agen. It was in 21, 800 kilometers. Sun was burning like hell. And I was sitting here at the bench waiting for birds. I basket 8 birds, but 8 good birds. Um, the week before, it was raining all the time in Belgium. I had no condition on my loft, and that go. My lofts are also, you saw them against the forest, against the trees. So if it rains, I have immediately a lot of humidity at my loft. Luckily, 2 days before basketing, suddenly the sun came up and everything cleared out. I also was smart enough not to start panic. A lot of people would go to the vet, come back with antibiotics and so on. I didn't do that. I keep things very simple. I basket 8 birds. Yeah, I won a result. There were 30,000 birds internationally, of
Wow.
which 19,000 old. So the Netherlands, France, Belgium, UK, Germany competed. And suddenly I saw Prince Julien. I didn't know it was Prince Julien. Suddenly I saw a bird. There were no birds announced. So a bird very, very high coming. And yeah, he started to fly around a bit and clap his wings like a male training at home.
Right.
Say, yeah, one escaped from where he's coming. I don't understand. And then suddenly he landed. So yeah, it's a bird of Asian. So he won second international. And then my wife came home a couple of minutes later. She said, "Yeah, how you doing?" I said, "Yeah, second international." But I said, "The other ones will come also." So I just said that. Another one came, sixth international. 10 minutes later, 30 international. A couple of minutes later, I clocked all of them, all 8 birds, in a very short time. That was amazing. I that also the fact that it was Prince Julian for me
Right.
was an exponent of my strategy. He's a cross. He's a couple. His father was a son of Julien, and his mother was a daughter of Julien. And his mother won third international San. He won second international Asian. So yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was a great result. And then yeah, second was also the first national Libourne. Yeah, to win a first national race here in Belgium. Not a lot of people can tell that.
Yeah.
That was also yeah great. So I was with the second international, very close to winning a first international, but okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
One bird
Yeah.
beat me out of 30,000 birds. That's still okay.
Yeah, that's an incredible result, and how many
Yeah.
pigeons that is, and how many different fanciers, how many different countries. I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah, yeah, and also the day was a very warm day, so yeah, it was yeah nice. Yeah,
No. Well, I've taken up a lot of your time. I could talk pigeons with you all day, Yuri. I
yeah,
appreciate.
me too.
Yeah, I love talking pigeons, and I really enjoyed. It was really cool. The town, the village that you live in there is a beautiful place.
Yeah,
Where
true.
you live
Yeah,
is a beautiful place. You're loft up on the hill like that. It was just a really cool experience, and I can't wait to add some of your blood to what I'm doing, and uh, and try it here in Oklahoma and around the U.S. and some one loft, see what how that goes. So it's going to be fun, and
yeah. I sincerely hope you will succeed with it and can also, because if you see that the family you have built and the time, and that's the real proud. The breeding loft I have, that's the proud. If other people then also succeed with it, yeah, that's happiness. I last weeks I can post every week references now. Yeah, that's of course, I be honest, commercially that's also interesting, but
absolutely, yeah,
for me, it's also a proof that other people also succeed with your family and your strategy. That's nice to know. And then I also that, for example, a famous guy like Jelly Rosiers, then one of his best birds is coming from a bird from me. Yeah, that makes me happy. That's yeah, that makes me happy. So I sincerely hope you guys do the same in the States. So if it's a bit warm and a bit a difficult flight, that there is a Julien somewhere in the head of the race. That would be nice
that's
to
what we're
see.
going to try for sure. And my dad was mentored by Antoine Jacobs, who's from Vorslaar, Belgium.
Okay, yes.
He had a family, and he always would look for special hens to cross. And so
Yeah,
my
yeah.
dad and I have kept that going over the years to build our family around that.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
I think with my family of pigeons crossed onto yours, it's going to be something special. I'm excited about. And with Yella Rogiers, he also, like you said, with Queen L, he does a lot of line breeding to his.
Yes.
So when you
He's,
cross yours and his together, there's no wonder he's doing what he's doing,
yeah.
right? What tell us about that bird?
Yeah, for me, he's the best. Jelly is one of the best in Belgium because with the limited number of pigeons he has, he lives in Antwerp. And normally, most of the guys there play middle distance. No, he not. He's going for the long distance race, even when it's difficult, and so on and so on. So I think that's why he came here, and I think that's why I also will succeed with his birds in crossing them in. And on top of that, he's also a bit like I am, straightforward, no bullshit, let's
Right,
go for it. And not everything succeeds, Jeff. Sometimes you're cross. I have a friend, he gives me the best, but it doesn't simply match Julian Bert. So yeah, it can be, but yeah, chances are higher when you think where you have to go. So
right.
yeah.
What accomplishment did he have with, you may have already told me this, but what accomplishment did he have with you said he got a son of crack Julian crossed into his,
Yeah,
what result did he have? It was very recent, just a few weeks ago, right? A month ago.
yeah. I think the bird is ranked. It was ranked a couple of weeks ago, at least third national ace on 4 races, and it won the fourth national Argenton out of 20,000 birds, and the first national zone also, I think, or the second national. He told me he flew around a bit and he lost the first national in that way. Uh, but he only started breeding Yali when he acquires pigeon, always waits a bit and lets the bird settle it down. So
Right.
it's one of the first young birds he bred in 23. So immediately winning the fourth national and ranked in the ace pigeons. That's quite a
It's
performance.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you have amazing pigeons. You're an awesome guy. I appreciate you coming on. If people want to learn more about you, maybe they want to reach out to you. Is there a way to contact you? Do you have a website or Facebook
Yeah,
or something? I know Facebook, you have a dedicated page to your pigeons.
yeah, I put my results a bit on Facebook. It's the Blanc pigeons. I sent you also a picture.
Yeah.
Uh, so if they like my Facebook, so it's not my name, that's my private Facebook, but the Blanc pigeons, it's called Youri Deblanc Pigeons. Then they go on my pigeon racing Facebook page, and I put my results there, and they can contact me through Messenger, and then usually I answer as much as I can, if I can answer.
Yeah, yeah. You're a busy guy
Uh,
and you're on the go a lot. You have a lot going on. So But I wanted people to know that, and I'm gonna post all the pictures you sent me.
Oh, great.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
put all those in when I put this interview on the timeline. Then I add all the pictures in. So I'll add all that in. I'll add your Facebook
Oh,
page on
great. Thank
there,
you.
and
Yeah.
incredible results so far in 2024. And Youngbirds is the big Youngbirds national races are coming up. So
Yeah.
I hope it continues for you, my friend. Oh, I think I lost you.
I hope so too, Jeff.
Oh,
Thanks.
there we
Yeah.
go. Well, thank
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Yep. I think there we go. The Wi-Fi cut out for a second.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. But yeah, thank you so much, Youri, for coming on. I know everybody's going to enjoy this one, and maybe once the season has slowed down and wrapped up, we'll have you on again and get an update on the how things are going for you.
Always welcome. And thanks a lot, Jeff, for your time and this opportunity. For me, as a younger fans here, it's nice to have a chat with you. So thanks a lot for the time you have put in. And also the best regards to Ken,
Yeah, yeah,
who
yeah.
was here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, my,
He too is gonna add some of your blood to his family, and like you're saying,
yeah.
where he is, very headwinds, very hot, similar here at
Okay.
times. So it'll be fun to try him, and looking forward to it. So thank you so much again, Yuri, for coming on.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
we'll
No
chat again
problem.
soon. Okay.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. Have a nice
All right.
day.
Thank you,
Yo.
Yuri. All right.
Thank you. Bye. Yo.
All right. Bye bye.